When Ubisoft looks into the mirror of time, they search for games that worked, they take those games, and they make them again. But when one stares at the mirror for too long, the cracks begin to show. And from the cracks, shows the past they tried to hide, and the future that lies inside. Prince of Persia, the Lost Crown. Well, we found that crown, buried deep in the same ground that Assassin's Creed jumped off. But with all great rains comes the fall, and with it, the ashes of what once was rises again. Long live the king. The prince. Fuck! The last time Ubisoft made a 2D platformer, it was a universal hit, and now they've made another one, and it is outstanding.
Coincidence? I think not!
But it is still a surprise, a radical departure from the formula that Ubisoft loves so much. A formula that has proved mighty these last couple of years, both in its ability to make money and to piss off their fan base. Expansive open worlds with massive amounts of content. Very stimulating, but not very engaging. Don't get it twisted, there are some talented people working at Ubisoft. A lot of talented people. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a showcase of that talent. So just how much are they showing? To really figure this out, we've got to dissect this game a little bit. So let's start with the Eye. The Eye of the Wanderer. A labyrinth of interconnected tunnels, platforms, rooms, and vistas. Say goodbye to leveling up and say hello to level design. Prince of Persia. A full-fledged Metroidvania. Combat, traversal, puzzles, and Persia. Pretty Persia. A reminder of what once was, and a testament to what can be. We've got sand, we've got snow, we've got storms, we've got sewers, and we've got spoilers. But not for story. Still, you have been warned. Sargon is our man, and we will take him here, there, and everywhere to slice through Ubisoft's formula with style. And there is so much style. From his moveset to his idle poses, every moment with Sargon feels unashamedly smooth. He flies through the air with precision and lands back down with power. From the moment you meet him, Sargon is competent, and he is committed to saving the Prince of Persia, who has been captured. Sargon himself is a member of the Seven Immortals, a tribute to the real-life infantry unit during the reign of the Achaemenian Empire in 550 BC, an elite band of 10,000 strong. A few more than 7, but hey, a tribute is a tribute. Soon enough, Sargon will venture out to find the prince on his own, and the game will open up. There are no more intrusive objective markers, only the ones you set for yourself. The freedom to go where you want to go, for any reason you have. Once you can't go any longer, it's time to find the key to unlocking the way. But before you do, you can set a quick reminder with a screenshot so you can come back later when you're ready and able. A much desired and surprising innovation for the Metroidvania, all at the hands of Ubisoft. The surprises keep on coming, as does Sargon. Sargon's abilities are simple but refined. Combat is snappy and satisfying, and traversal is tight and filled with tension. Combat serves as a tool for your expression, whereas traversal serves as an application of the power of your brain. And I don't know which is more satisfying. The combat is endlessly addictive, and the traversal is endlessly rewarding. This gameplay loop kept me hooked for hours on end. I'd just run through levels with no clear goal in mind, dashing and slicing my way through. So let's take some time to give these mechanics the attention they deserve. Let's start with combat. We have yet another game with juggling combat mechanics, and there's a reason. Because it's so much fun, dude. Juggling is a critical element in crowd control, allowing you to continue a string of combos without interruption. But there are also moves that continue your string of combos while in the air, so you can pause your descent if you're proficient enough. The more you play, the more you practice, the better you get. The better you get, the more fun it gets. Completing a combo will always be satisfying, and the more intricate the combo, the more satisfaction you'll gain. The combat system in this game is expressive. It relies on your inputs to show its depth, but your inputs are very responsive. Your enemies will always fly in the direction you take them. There's no excessive need to cancel animations like there can be in games like God of War. Each move is matched with immersive visual elements that add greater flavor to the combat. When Sargon swings his sword, a streak of blue and white flows with its trajectory. When that sword hits, the enemies are pushed back with beautifully animated momentum. When they perish, their bodies combust, and the ashes fade away, leaving black brushstrokes that build the painterly visual style Ubisoft Montpellier are striving for. This game is so good. So let's just keep going. I've talked a bit about Sargon's offensive arsenal, so now let's talk about his defensive arsenal. Sargon gets a parry and a dodge, pretty standard in most action games coming out recently. Red attacks are unblockable, so you must dodge them. White attacks or normal attacks you can parry, and then there's yellow attacks. Time these just right, and you get a wicked anime-inspired visual that is animated beautifully and really delivers one of the most satisfying rewards to a parry I've ever seen. Each time you successfully complete a defensive move or string together a series of offensive moves, you build your Athra bar. Once you build your Athra bar, you can consume it to pull off an Athra Surge, which is a special ability that shifts the camera perspective. The Athra Surge has a wide range of utilities: extending a combo, maintaining crowd control on a target, healing, and of course, damage. However, Athra is not a resource you build and spend. Athra is a resource you build, maintain, and choose when to spend. And that choice is critical. Each hit you take depletes your Athra, and on the higher difficulties, your Athra depletes over time. Aggression is rewarded with Athra buildup, but recklessness is punished by Athra depletion. Athra is a strong contribution to the complexities of combat. Athra surges are incredibly fun to pull off. Most of the time, they are very intuitive to pull off. They also add much needed depth to the combat mechanics. But when you raise the difficulty, Athra is harder to come by, and it's harder to maintain. All the combat moves you will use in this game are learned from the first few hours. All that results in is a greater grasp of the moveset. There might be greater challenges waiting for you, but there are never different ones. That's where traversal comes into play. Traversal has a much narrower expanse, and yet it continually generates new challenges. If you can't traverse something, you will eventually gain a tool or skill that lets you traverse it. And then the game will open up new challenges to force you to use that newly acquired tool or skill. If you don't, you literally can't get through. There is no other option, you have to use that tool. This same idea doesn't apply in combat. If you can't defeat an enemy, you have two choices: avoid them altogether or develop a greater understanding of the moveset. Combat only serves as an expression of your skill, whereas traversal serves as the measure of your skill. But the lack of depth in combat isn't necessarily a bad thing. If combat required greater proficiency, it would lose its appeal. It's smart of Ubisoft to allow players to express their high skill levels in combat, rather than forcing it. It makes the game so much more accessible, which is one of the most compelling positives about this game. Metroidvanias are not a very accessible genre. I should know. I have never played one. Shameful. I know, but not as shameful as Ubisoft forcing subscriptions down our throats. More on that later. Hate them all you want, but Ubisoft are pioneers when it comes to the accessibility of their mechanics. It's hard to get lost in a Ubisoft game. It's hard to get confused in a Ubisoft game. And it's hard for a Ubisoft game to be, well, hard. Mini-maps, inventories, fast travel, all features to make the player's playtime as simple as possible, to make their game as accessible as possible, to as many people as possible. And that formula works, but accessibility can get boring when there is no depth to find beyond the surface. What Ubisoft have employed from their other games here is direction. The moment you begin this game, you're instantly aware of where you're going, what you're doing, and how you're going to do it. The only thing that's up to you is what that looks like, but no matter what, it will always look good. As you explore, you find new mechanics, abilities, puzzles, and traps that either aid you or hinder you along your way. So let's talk about exploration for a bit, but not too long because spoilers. The more you explore, the more rewards you will find. Those rewards are never certain until you obtain them. So they are always surprising, and because of that, they are always meaningful. One such reward are the amulets. Amulets greatly modify your style of play and can be changed at any whack-whack tree. Whack-whack trees are save points you discover around the map. It is at a whack-whack tree that you can also change out your Athra Surges and amulets to get better at whack-whacking. The variety of amulets is compelling. Some are more powerful than others, but require more amulet slots than others. You only possess a limited amount of amulet slots at any one time, so you're encouraged to choose carefully. You're not pushed into any choices either, as the amulets are very distinct and cater to a wide array of playstyles. I did everything I could to stay away from the main story in this game, because the exploration is just that fucking good. The puzzles are incredibly complex, while remaining intuitive. The further you get in a puzzle, the more you understand the puzzle. Some puzzles are a fucking pain in the ass, but it was frustrating only because it was difficult, not because it was cheap or misleading. A lot of the puzzles will loop upon themselves, requiring you to not only reach the end, but also to make it all the way back again. They're just long enough to give you room to understand them, and then gain a level of mastery on the pursuit to completing them. Completing a puzzle will result in a wide array of rewards, which include currencies and collectibles of all sorts, which add much appreciated insight into the greater Persian mythology and belief systems. Similar to how it was in Assassin's Creed Mirage. That's one thing that game got right. All this exploration is facilitated with an absolutely excellent traversal system. The way the environment is laid out is where the traversal shines. The traversal is used to connect all the mechanics together, and it is very intuitive in how their usage is laid out. The traversal tests your timing, reactions, and memory. When they combine all three later on in the game, is when I found myself genuinely enthralled in every measure. Traversal was frustrating, it was difficult, but it was fast, fluid, responsive, and above all, fun. And that's what I find most perplexing about this game. I am genuinely impressed in every measure when it comes to this game. The style is met with substance. The freedom is met with fantastic reward. The complexity is balanced by genre-pushing innovation. This game is fucking fun. Ubisoft have made a really fun game. It sucks that I'm so surprised about this. It's so easy to hate Ubisoft. By all accounts, they represent everything that is wrong with the video games industry. Industry leaders in creating unnecessary and undesirable consumer experiences. Trailblazers in the growing push for the subscription model, a model that they mean to push on all of us. There are terrible people working under the Ubisoft umbrella, but they are the very, very small minority. The majority are men and women, just like us, who put their heart and soul into the art they have spent their lives creating and perfecting, all for us to enjoy with whatever meaningless time we have left. Ubisoft are led by financial incentive to keep their livelihoods intact. Sometimes this means repeating what works, but sometimes, just sometimes, they take a risk. They bring back what they perfected, what we loved, and make it utterly brilliant once again. I love Ubisoft games. I guess I just need a reminding of that fact. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a fat fucking dub. It's the most fun I've had with a Ubisoft game in years, and it is some of the most fun with gaming in general I've had for a fair while. This game is almost stubborn with its unparalleled creativity and style. It oozes passion, craft, and attention to detail. It's made accessible to all. It is what I want from Ubisoft. This level of ambition and pride doesn't need to be met with every future Ubisoft title, but it does need to be the benchmark. This game needs to be the figurehead for the future of Ubisoft. Ubisoft Montpellier, take a bow, because right now, you're wearing the crown.